Hey folks, how's it going? I had to just talk briefly about Fortnite's new Star Wars horror mode, Escape Vader. It's kind of a disaster, unfortunately. I think it is essentially fan made or made by like a small hobbyist studio, sort of under, with the blessing of Epic and Lucasfilm Games. I don't want to trash this, okay? But I did try it and it's definitely lacking. It's AI Vader appears to be back. Okay, we had the sort of James Earl Jones, sort of digital necromancy Darth Vader in Fortnite. What was that, a year ago? Like this time 1 year ago, I think they had the sort of Star Wars micro season or mini season for a month in Fortnite, which it had its like highs and its lows. Right now, they brought some new stuff. They brought these three new sort of creator modes. They've got the what is it, battlegrounds, like the Battlefront sort of uh, analog, which I haven't tried that one yet. I haven't tried the Droid Shop or whatever that one's called. I'm probably gonna check them out and talk about those too very soon. But I'm a big horror guy. I love stuff like Ewok Hunt in Battlefront 2. I love stuff like Friday the 13th, the game, and like within Fortnite, a lot of creator modes have the islands, whatever they've recreated those sort of ASIM horror games in Fortnite, and I love stuff like that. I've played like Michael Myers Halloween modes in Fortnite. That stuff is really cool and charming. I think that this Escape Vader is kind of a heartbreaking waste of potential as it stands right now. I wrote down in my notes, I think is the worst thing Fortnite has ever done since AI Vader. I think, the sort of official AI Darth Vader that they put in the game a year ago, it just inexcusably ghoulish use of technology. You had one of the great actors of all time. You had him sort of resurrected or at least represented within a video game, saying homophobic slurs, saying that the F word, like everything. It was a disaster, and you know it seems like the somehow AI Vader has returned. The voiceover here sounds even worse than before. The animations, I would say, are terrible, if not more accurately non-existent. Obviously, this is a work in progress. It's a creator mode. You can call it user generated content. All of that's fair. I found the movement as the player severely limited, especially for a Star Wars game. The fundamental progression of the mode, the core design is laid out at the start of the match in text form on the screen, and that was fair enough. I thought that it was really easy to understand. And I suppose like if you have text to speech built into your game in the accessibility menu, which I believe Fortnite does, then that should give players everything they need to like go into matchmaking and succeed and have a good time. But the problems, I don't know that any of the players in my matches were reading or paying attention. They didn't a lot, at least half of them seem to not know what to do. Again, fair enough. This is Fortnite. This is a game for children too and stuff, but there are just fundamental problems with the mode. Vader seems to sort of insta kill you with an inescapable force choke when you get within a certain radius. He sort of camps specific areas and kind of um, it can be hard to get where you need to go and avoid him at the same time. Obviously, that's the point of the mode, but like you're moving so slow, your teammates are if they're down or dead or whatever, and you do respawn, thank God. So that's like the one good thing. But the blaster, you have a blaster, which doesn't seem like it does anything except gets him to sort of, block it with the lightsaber. Again, fair enough. It kind of immerses you in the I actually think the core design, the fantasy of like being this rebel scavenger or treasure hunter, sort of like Skeleton Crew, boarding this spooky abandoned star destroyer and then running into the, scariest force user in the galaxy, and it basically playing on that Rogue One ending with the hallway scene that has now been sort of recycled two or three different times with in Ahsoka and Mandalorian season 2 with Luke, it's been kind of done a few times now, and that's fine. I'm sure it was in Maul probably too to some extent, the new animated series, I think, but it's a good idea. There's just like the execution is so not there right now. The lack of polish and just Vader himself makes it kind of impossible to recommend this. I think one big issue that is like there on the drawing board from the jump is having Vader be a PvE combatant instead of a fifth or sixth player is a huge mistake. I think if this was an ASIM game where one player was randomly selected, maybe you could I don't know. Maybe you match make as the killer. Maybe it's totally random, or maybe in the lobby. I think there is a sort of pre-game lobby where you all sort of load in and ready up or whatever. You're sort of getting in the escape pod or the shuttle or whatever first. So there is that sort of pre-game lobby. Kind of like Fortnite Festival where you like choose the songs and stuff and set your instrument and your difficulty. If you could do that in this Vader mode and sort of set your preference to, okay, I want to be a scavenger, treasure hunter, pirate, whatever, or I want to be Vader, um, and then have the game sort of weigh that stuff and do like a dice roll based on your preference, that would help fix things. The fact that he's just kind of like an OP but dumb PvE bot who, again, the animations, like having a player doing like the animations for like the Vader skin from like the battle pass from a couple years back or whatever, that would look so much better and sell the fantasy so much more believably and authentically. Like Lucasfilm and Star Wars, they're all about like you having a polished, authentic Star Wars experience. Like that's the name of the game for that license, you know. They care very deeply about this property, and they guard Darth Vader and Chewbacca and Han Solo and Leia Organa. These characters are like dear and precious to them. And the whole AI James Earl Jones Vader is really the worst thing that they've done with the yeah, it's just it's terrible. It's inexcusable, and the games industry has kind of got this hard on. They're kind of high on generative AI. It's it's an anti-labor weapon to hurt workers, to lay off workers, to speed things up and try to release games faster. It takes a few years to make a good video game, and for shareholders and executives. A lot of times the people running these companies like EA or wherever, they're coming from like anywhere but video games. And then the people who report directly to them are like the people who have been in the industry since, the dawn of time. And it's a really awkward tug of war between the most talented artistic minds in the history of the medium, and then these money people making decisions, making the layoffs happen, green lighting or canceling games, having no experience whatsoever making a video game. And I think that if you're gonna do this where like like kind of The Walking Dead and K-pop Demon Hunters, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where this thing where like the licensee gives permission to like Fortnite creators, like, here, play with our sandbox, play with our tools, play with our resources, our sound effects, our visual assets. Great. That's awesome. But right now you have a situation where for the most part, this is like all that people logging into Fortnite are going to see. They're going to see it's very much like the featured headlining thing right now for Star Wars and Fortnite. Disney has like a huge stake invested in Epic Games. So Escape Vader is a really bad look right now. It's really unfortunate. As somebody who loves Fortnite, loves Star Wars video games, loves seeing Star Wars events happen in Fortnite, sans AI Vader. Um, it's just it's a bummer. It's a bummer. I thought maybe it would be kind of like Ewok Hunt in Battlefront, which was like it was such a blast. I've had some of the most fun I had in Battlefront 2 was actually Ewok Hunt. And this is just not it, it's really it's sad. I hope that they support it and can polish it up and take player feedback, serious feedback like this, and like consider making Vader a player character. Make it like Friday the 13th the game, or like a Dead by Daylight style mode, if that's what you want to do. Whatever you want to do with it, by all means, stick to the intended vision, but like it's not fun yet. It's not fun yet. I think that the core design of like you carry the sort of power cells to, from one spot to another, and being kind of powerless against Vader, I think that can work. I think that can work. I think that the core fantasy of like the abandoned, destroyed Star Destroyer, the dead, ghost ship out in space. I think that's beautiful, and it was a really cool image. I think the cinematic when you're flying in, really cool. I got to say, I saw the Anakin and Rada the Hutt and Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, like those sort of 2008 style Clone Wars skins that got added to the shop. Those look great. Those are awesome. Like most of the time when Star Wars and Fortnite meet, it is a good marriage, and it's really I have a good time. I've played the hell out of Star Wars events in Fortnite. I love the lightsaber pickups, and being Rey and like flipping over people's heads, and what force push and being Darth Maul and all that stuff, and gliding in on the Sith ships and all that stuff. That stuff is all great. Most of the last event was pretty fun and cool. I think when they did the big Palpatine Death Star raid, that was cool. I did that with my son and a couple friends, and we had the time of our lives playing that. Um, but yeah, if you're gonna feature sort of fan made, user generated content, maybe give them some official support, maybe give them, more resources, people who really know what they're doing to help polish these things, and get them over the finish line, so to speak. Seeing Vader just like not have like animations, or just like have this sort of herky jerky, like temp animation, and just like the AI voiceover sounds really rough, and I don't know, I wanted to love it, and I'm rarely negative about modern Star Wars video games. Usually like I can find more good things to say, and that I just think that this was a Escape Vader in particular was a flop, and I hope that if they're going to keep doing things like this, get the generative AI voiceover the hell out of there. Get it out. Just have him be silent, have him do the breathing. The breathing is, Lucasfilm has lots of Darth Vader breathing. They have lots of scary lightsaber sound effects. Use that stuff. Don't use the digital necromancy. If you want Vader to say something, pay like Scott, pay a whoever to do a voiceover. But yeah, it's like it's hard to make one of these videos where it's just like, man, I hated this. Boy, it hurts being disappointed in Star Wars Fortnite, because that should be such a slam dunk, like an easy win, and this just isn't. So thanks so much, folks. If you got anything out of this, if this kept you from, wasting your time, or maybe piqued your interest and made you want to check it out and install it, see it for yourself, maybe consider hitting that subscribe or like or whatever you like to do. But thanks so much, folks. Have a good one.